welcome to today's show. I am delighted to introduce today our guest for this evening, and we have none other than multi-Grammy Award winner, pianist, composer, producer, band leader, you name it. We have today with us the director of Spanish Harlem Orchestra, Mr. Oscar Hernandez. Oscar, what an honor to have you with us today. How are you?
Hi, Tuli. Well, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for letting me spend a little time with you and all the people who are viewing this wonderful program. It's my pleasure. I'm doing great today. I'm here. I'm in sunny Los Angeles. It's actually a beautiful day here. So just came back from my long walk and knew that I had this interview with you. So I'm all yours.
Amazing. Oh my God, I didn't realize you were in LA. For some reason, I thought you were in New York. So amazing. That's wonderful.
Well, long story. I'm from New York, and I'm a New Yorker, diehard New Yorker, born and raised. And I'm from what they say the hood. I'm from the South Bronx. But I've been living in LA for a little bit, and I'm in New York all the time. As a matter of fact, I was just booking tickets to New York for next month, and I'm going to be there working on some projects.
Amazing. Well, we're going to talk about those in a minute. But first off, I would like to actually cover off a little bit of your very beginnings as a musician, as an artist. I know that you're from Puerto Rican parents and that you were born in New York. And at the tender age of 12, you were already playing the trumpet. And and now you're a very famous pianist. So how come that switch from trumpetist to a pianist?
Well, everything to me in my life has been through divine intervention. You know, I grew up in a family of 11 kids.
Wow.
And I was number 10 on the list. And we grew up very poor, so there was no way for me to get a piano. But make a long story short, somebody gave me a piano at the age of 14 after I was playing trumpet at the local boys club. And I started, my oldest brother was the manager of the building that we lived in. And he set up a room with me with this piano. And it all started from there. I started just kind of listening and try to copy and imitating and emulating. And before you know it, I was playing with local neighborhood bands, you know, kind of kiddie bands, as they say, young musicians who were, you know, some of them were older than me. And then after playing with those bands, I got my first break when I was 16 years old and recorded my first recording. And at 17 and 18, I was already playing professionally. And in New York, don't forget, during that time, New York was the happening place for music because it was
Right.
in the 70s, and you know, the revolution of the cultural revolution of Latinos was in full force in the city of New York City. So music was a big part of what that revolution was, because people were identifying with the music that they were hearing. My older brothers and sisters were getting dressed to go to dances, and I would see them listening to the music. So it infected me. And then I got to see live music, you know, at an early age. When I was 16, I got to see, you know, bands like Ray Barretto, Tito Puente, Willie Colon. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, before you know it, I was playing professionally. My first big gig was when I was 18, playing with, at that time, the most popular band in New York City, which was Imael Miranda y La Revelación, which was the name of his band. And Imael was the most popular singer in his days. He must have been about 22 or 23 at the time. And so we were working 5, 6, 7 days a week. So it all started from there, you know, for me. And here I am, you know, 50 years later with an amazing career, having played with all the best musicians, everybody from Tito Puente to Machito to Celia Cruz to Ray Barretto to Ruben Blades to Juan Luis Guerra to Gilberto Santa Rosa, Kathy, on and on and on, all the people that I've been blessed to play with.
Amazing. So, but also your career started with Joy Pastrana, is that right?
That's correct. When I was 17, before Ismael, I got the gig with Joey Pastrana. And that was a really great foundation because Joey had all professional musicians who were all older than me. And I was able to really start to learn what the scene was about, what the music was about. He gave me an opportunity. And I always tell people that the education that I received as a young musician in the city of New York, playing with all the incredible, great musicians that I had the opportunity to play with at a young age, you couldn't receive at the best university in the world. So
Amazing.
what an amazing education. And not only that, but playing, the best arrangements from the best arrangers of that time.
It's
It
fabulous.
really was opening the door for me as a young musician. And I feel really, truly blessed that all those things were put in my path early on. And I've been able to now, formulate my own career as an artist because of that. And really, really grateful for just an amazing list of opportunities that I had along the way.
Yes. An amazing time to be alive. You were in New York at the right place at the right time with all those,
Uh,
with that revolution going on, and an amazing experience. And soon after, I mean, you went to work with one of the biggest artists at the time, which was you spent 6 to 7 years with Ray Barretto. So tell us about that experience working with Ray.
Well, I mean, I'm really grateful to Ray because as a young musician who was just still learning and still developing, Ray was one of the great band leaders, to this day that we had in the scene, forever. He let me spread my wings, gave me the opportunity to spread my wings not only as a pianist, but as an arranger. So for me to have that opportunity, and I got to record 6 records with Ray. It's funny because somebody was asking me in an interview yesterday, and I couldn't remember all the names. But I started thinking, and I said, "Oh my God, how did I forget?" So the records were "Tomorrow," "Live at the Beacon," "Reconstruction," "Rhythm of Life," "Fuerza Gigante,"
Wow.
"Tremendo Trio." Those were all great records. When I don't go back and listen to anything in the past, but whenever I do have the opportunity, you know, that was an amazing time for me as a young pianist and young arranger. And Ray was there to open those doors and kind of encourage me. And he was an amazing, not only an amazing musician, he was an amazing leader who was
Right.
clear, clear on his path in terms of, what he wanted to do artistically. And I say that my time with Ray is a precursor to what I'm doing now with my own band, Spanish Harlem Orchestra. So,
Right.
um, great time with Ray Barretto, and it's all documented. If you're not sure, go listen to any one of those records. Reconstruction, just listen to that one.
Amazing, amazing. We'll check it out. And I mean, what an experience to go through to all these artists and just learn from the best and get all these experiences from the best, and you also becoming the best. And then later on, you work with another great, who was Ruben Blades. And then you form part of Seis del Solar. So how did working with Seis del Solar come about?
Well, I had a friendship already with Ruben Blades since he came from Panama, and we knew each other, and we used to cross paths every now and then. Obviously, he knew what I was doing, and at that time, he had become the most famous salsa singer there was. With his association with Willie Colon and the
Mhm.
record Siembra that went on to, and all the great compositions from Pedro Navaja to Pablo Pueblo to Platico, all those compositions that he wrote. He was now the most popular and famous salsa singer that there was.
Mm.
And so I run across him at the time. At that time, the best place to be was on a Monday night at the Village Gate in New York, because it was a great evening of music, salsa meets jazz. And so I run into Ruben. He says, "Oye, Carl." He tells me in Spanish, "Oye, Carl, coño, chévere verte." He tells me, let's nice to see you. I want to talk to you about something." So we sit down. He says, "Hey, I'm leaving Willie and I'm starting my own band, and I would love for you to be part of it." So at that time, I had been with Ray for 7 years, and it was just time for me to move on to something new. And what better opportunity that with now the most famous and popular singer that was, happening in those times.
Yes.
And that was now 1982.
Right.
So I had been with Ray since, like I said, 7 or 8 years now that I think about it.
Yes.
And it was just time for me to move on. I told Ray, "Hey, Ray, I love you, man. Thank you for the time, but I'm moving on." He was kind of disappointed, but, I think he understood, it was time for me to spread my wings in a different direction.
Right.
So My time with Ruben Blades and Cesar Solar was also incredibly precious, incredibly amazing too, because we got to, also bring our music to the rest of the world and even open up some new and different doors for me, not only as a musician, but as a pianist and as a arranger. Ruang posed different challenges for me as well. And again, it's all documented, starting from Buscando America to all the records that I did with Ruang. Beautiful, beautiful music, beautiful era. And it was all part of me developing myself to ultimately becoming an artist. And all this time, honestly, Tuli, all this time, I never was thinking about being a band leader. I was never thinking about forming my own band. People
Right.
would ask me, "Hey, why don't you make a band? Why don't you, you've done all these production, all these arrangements, you work with all these people." But I wasn't thinking that way yet. But those were the incredible foundations for me,
Right.
for what would come later.
So 13 years, right? You were with Ruben. About 13
Wow,
years.
you're on it, girl. Yes, from 1983 to 1996.
96.
Part of the time we had a lot of time off with Ruben because he was also going to school. He was involved in a bunch of different things as well. He was getting into movies, so we would have a lot of free time to do other things during those 13 years as well, including the two Cesar Solar records that we did without him.
Right.
So that was a different challenge for me as well. But Rueng to this day is like my brother. We stay in touch. We were just in touch, yesterday via email, something that
Nice.
he sent me, and I went like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And I sent him back something. So something that I just did that he said, "Wow, that's incredible. Let me post it on my website."
Oh,
So
wow.
pretty cool. Rueng is one of the great artists that we have, and I'm so proud to have shared my time with him, for all those years.
Amazing. I mean, what an amazing story. That's great that you guys are still in touch and that you still, kind of congratulating each other for your work and keeping an eye on each other's stuff. So that's great.
No
Now,
doubt.
moving on a little bit. So fast forward into 1998 and a track called Dance City. As a result, I think you were approached by Paul Simon, which led to you being involved with the Broadway musical. Tell us a lot about that, the Cape Man.
Right. I always tell people it's an interesting story because you do things, it's in life, it's all about planting seeds,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, but mainly consciously, in this case, unconsciously. So I did the record Dance City as a labor of love for a friend of mine who was a great friend and he was a dancer. His name is Eddie Torres. He's the foremost
Oh,
salsa
Eddie,
dance
yes.
Eddie was the foremost salsa dance instructor, but he used to work with Tito Puente, but he couldn't work with Tito because Tito was traveling, so he wanted to make a project on his own. So I produced this record, and I told it was a labor of love because I didn't get paid a lot of money. It was just something to do artistically. And to make a long story short, I tell people jokingly the record sold 10 records, but it got a great review in the New York Times. Paul Simon read the review and he says, "Hey," he told somebody, "get me this record." He listened to it and he fell in love with it. He said, "Who is this producer?" And he
Wow.
got in touch with me. So that's an example of how you plant a seed and boom, it explodes.
Amazing.
And my time with Paul and the Cape Man is there's a lot of emotion, that went into that project. I feel really good because the music was amazing. It was something that didn't work out for a lot of reasons that we won't go into, but nevertheless, I got thrust in a hole. I told people that I earned my doctorate's degree in musical theater on that show, and I really did because
Wow.
I got to work like 4 years in making it happen. And working with Paul was a blessing. Who's again a personal friend, and
Amazing.
it was an invaluable experience for me moving on, and another opportunity for me and another feather in my cap as a musician and as a arranger producer, so to speak. But and the music was considered pretty, phenomenal. Got great reviews, and to this day, it's uh, awesome music. I got to work with Ruang, Mark Anthony on that show, and Ednita Nazario, who's an amazing vocalist and artist from Puerto Rico.
Amazing. What an experience. I mean, who would have thought that out of that track you would have then been approached by Paul Simon and end up in Broadway? Amazing. Now, fast forwarding a bit more, and you've also done some arrangements for an artist that is no stranger to this show, a dear friend as well, who's Mr. Tito Rodriguez Jr. And I believe that also you arranged two of his tracks previously, which was Mujer Erótica and Acuérdate. So tell us a little bit about working with Tito Rodriguez Jr. What was that like?
Well, I worked with Tito on and off for 2 or 3 years, and I mean, obviously, his history through his father was, amazing, and that music, to play those songs that his father made famous, was a really cool thing for me to be able to do with Tito Jr. And then he was, to the point where he was making his own record. He asked me to do a couple of the arrangements. Happy that I was able to contribute. He just called me, and we're going to be working together again, hopefully me as an arranger for some
Nice.
new tracks that he wants to do. But I mean, the legacy that his father left and all that music that he has, that you get to play as part of his band, is another beautiful experience, Tuli.
Amazing. Now that brings us now to the point where you say, okay, I'm gonna have my own band and it's gonna be called Spanish Harlem Orchestra. So how did that come about and how did that all begin?
So another interesting story. So I told you that I wasn't aspiring to be a band leader. I wasn't
Mhm.
thinking. So Spanish Harlem Orchestra wasn't my idea.
Right.
It was the idea of a gentleman named Aaron Levinson, who's a DJ, uh, and he's a music fan. But he had a deal at that time with Warner Brother Records to
Right.
produce a certain record. So he called me up, and I said, "Yeah, okay, great, let's do it." I put everything together. He's not a musician. I put everything together. We went back and forth picking the songs. Make a long story short again, because it is kind of a long story. I produced the record. Warner Brothers, dropped the project. They put it in the can. It was in the can for a year and a half. He
Wow.
took the project and he sold it to a small record label, and it came out at the end of 2001, and it got nominated for a Grammy. So that gave me the impetus to start the band, and I was too, for lack of a better word, not inspired to be a band leader and too ignorant. And it's like God saying, "Hello, wake up! This is your time. This is for you." And truly, I look back now, and it was truly meant for me. To
Wow.
be, here I am 20 years later, and I'm thinking, wow, that was my opportunity to really become a band leader, to put my own stamp, my own vision on the music. And here we are, 7 records later, 3 Grammys, one later, with an incredible track record, having traveled all over the world and keeping this music alive and on the pedestal that I feel it merged to be, with respect to the incredible legacy and history that I've been part of.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm blessed to have had the opportunity given to me on a silver platter like that. But I mean, it was a blessing in disguise that it happened, and it was meant for me, like I said. So, and I'm really proud of everything with Spanish Harlem Orchestra. I mean, I don't go back and listen to the stuff because I'm always moving forward. But whenever I do listen to the first record or the second, somebody plays it, I go like, wow, that's some badass stuff.
I
Hey,
mean, if the number of Grammys are a testament or anything to go by, how amazing your band is. I mean, you have 7 albums, out of which 5 times you have been nominated for a Grammy, and you've won 3 Grammys out of the 5 nominations. That's an amazing achievement in itself. I mean, there are artists that go throughout their artistic career hoping that they will win 1 Grammy. You've won 3 with your band and have had, as I said, 5 nominations. That's an amazing testament to the great work that you're producing.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. But I'm going to tell you an interesting story. When we got nominated for the first Grammy, right, the record was called Un Gran Día en el Barrio. I went to the Grammys. They were in New York at the time. They were at Rockefeller Center. Make a long story short, we didn't win. We were nominated. But I'm sitting in the audience, and one of the awards they announced, and the winner was the Blind Boys of Alabama. So this black gentleman, older gentleman, gets up and walks up the long steps to the top to accept his award. And when he gets to the microphone, he just says, "It took me 30 years to walk up those steps."
Wow.
And it hit me in the heart because I went, I mean, so the next time when we did the second record and we won, that's exactly that way I felt. I said, wow, it took me 30 years to get to this moment.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I'm totally blessed by that honor and feel a sense of, like satisfaction and just vindicated with all the stuff that you have to go through as a musician, to reach this point now of accomplishment for me it doesn't get better than that. And I tell people, look, I have nothing. If I die tomorrow, I'm a happy camper because I haven't worked a day in my life.
Wow, that's awesome. But actually, your first album, nonetheless, I believe it won an award anyway. It won the Latin Billboard Award. Is that right?
That's correct. So, I mean, again, it's been an amazing ride with Spanish Harlem Orchestra, and I'm so proud of what we've been able to accomplish. And it's a true testament to how beautiful this music is, how good it can be. You need to have the support, for people, People ask me, well, what do you want? What does the future hold? And I say, I just want to be able to keep doing what I'm doing and keep bringing it out, to people. And because, I know that the music that I can produce, I know it in my heart. I love this music so much. I have such a deep passion for this music. I feel, really good when I'm able to, be involved in music in any way, whether I'm doing an arrangement on my computer, whether I'm sharing a vocal session, whether I'm doing a horn section, whether I'm musical directing, whether I'm playing the piano, whatever I'm doing in music, I'm complete joy for me. So it's pretty cool to feel that way. And I think once you get older, you don't take things for granted. And I'm really in touch with being present and, where I've been and where I am and where I want to go. So it's an awesome thing.
Yes, absolutely. And be in the present and enjoy every single moment of it as well. Now, with your albums, you've worked with some amazing musicians. Obviously, one of your albums you featured Ruben Blades, for which you win a Grammy as well. But you also worked with another amazing musician who's Chick Corea. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Chick Corea was, I tell people, because I just did a live, I did a virtual video.
Right.
The day he died, I composed a song. Because for 50 years of my life, he's been there. Chick Corea has been there for all those years, just being a beacon of light, a source of inspiration, a fountain of inspiration with his music. And for me, and I had, again, I have to make a long story short, I had reached out to his wife. I had met her in the Grammys, and she told me, "Oh, Chick would love your music." And so I wrote to her. I said, "Man, I would love for Chick to be a guest." And she said, "Well, he's in Europe, he's on tour, but why don't you write to him? Here's his email address." So I wrote to him, and I didn't hear nothing. And a month later, his manager calls me and tells me Chick loves the track, he wants to record it.
Wow.
So I just went like,
amazing. That's wonderful.
yeah, because he is one of my heroes, right?
Yes.
And maybe when you play this, you can play my song that I composed, a video. I'll send it to you. It's called Para Chick. Because that day I sat down and I wrote a song because I was blown away that he died. I was going like, what? How could it be? He was so alive till the very end. He was so involved in so many creative, things that he had his hands in. It was, nobody knew he was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's another feather in my cap. I just go like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Qué bendición.
A blessing. Amazing. That's beautiful. And the fact that you created that tribute for him, that's beautiful. And we look forward to playing it here at the show. So that's great. Thank you so much. Now, talking of all the amazing musicians that you've worked with, obviously you have some of the best as well in your band. So obviously I'm a little bit biased. So you have Luisito Quintero.
Luisito Quintero. Well, I don't blame you for being biased, and I pinch myself too. Luisito calls me, he says, "Oh God, wow!" And he's just as happy being in the band too, and that's a testament to what we have, and to him being the ultimate. He's a leader. He's got his own project. So, but
Yes.
we know how to. Good leaders know how to be good followers and good sidemen. He doesn't get better than Luisito Quintero. I love him. He's brilliant as a percussionist, and as a person, he's very soft-spoken and very supportive. I can call him for whatever, and he's okay. Lo que tú quieras, dime. So he's always there. And he's been now with the band close to 10 years. That's amazing.
Wow, that's
It's pretty
incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
And another long-standing member of the band was Ray de la Paz, right? He was with you guys for quite some time.
Ray was there for longest. I had to move away from Ray, and Ray is one of the best singers, man. I'm so grateful for the time that I spent with him, because he's brilliant. It doesn't get better than him as a singer in this business for this style of music.
Right,
He was busy with his own career, and he couldn't
right.
be, a third of the time. And I used to drive me crazy because I used to have to scramble to try to replace him. So I said, Ray, I have to move in a different direction. And we have now for the last 4 years Jeremy Bosch, who's not only an amazing singer, he's
Yes.
an amazing musician and just an incredible person to have alongside me and what we're doing. I'm proud to have him in the band, and he's the future of the music. Make no mistake about it.
Excellent, excellent. So he's keeping you passing the baton to Jeremy, and he's
No
continuing the
doubt.
legacy.
No doubt. And you know what? He is, I'll tell you, I'm full of good stories. When I sat down in New York, I'm living in LA, but I went to New York, and I was looking for a singer they had recommended. So I went to see him, and I said, "Hey, why don't we have lunch tomorrow?" So he said, "Sure." So I pick him up in his house in Brooklyn, and I said, "Where do you want to go? Pick a restaurant, wherever you want to go." So we go sit down, and he tells me the story, and here I am offering him the job, and he says, "Okay, let me tell you a story." He's telling me in Spanish. When I was 15, he says, I told my father, he lived in Puerto Rico, right? He was born
Uh-huh.
and raised in Puerto Rico. And he went to Berkeley at 17, to study music in Boston. So he was playing flute at 15, but he tells his father, Dad, there's a band coming from New York for El Día Nacional de la Salsa, and I want to go see them. Could you take me? He says, "'Cause one day I want to play with them." so,
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So yeah. So it's such a when he told me that, it melted my heart a little bit.
That's
I said,
beautiful.
"Wow, that's awesome." Yeah. So again, he's such a beautiful person to have, not only musically but personally. It's awesome, Tuli, when you get young musicians who get it, because most young musicians don't get it. I mean, sometimes they could have the talent in the world, but they don't get it. But he has the talent and he gets it.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool.
Yes. And now, how has it been for you and the band in these last 12 months of, this pandemic? And I know that you released an album last year, just soon after we went into lockdown. So how was that? And what have you been doing since the lockdown?
Well, it's funny because the DJ asked me, "So have you done anything during the pandemic?" And I said, "Well, let me see. I produced 3 virtual videos.
Amazing.
I produced 2 records that came out. One is by an artist called Carol Welsman, who's a brilliant singer pianist. Another one is by Marco Bermudez, who's my singer.
Yes.
I'm for my own record label called Ovation Records,
We're gonna
and
get there.
and
Awesome.
now I'm producing my first long distance salsa record, and it's coming out amazing. So
Amazing.
I'm staying creative, and all of the new music, mind you, during that time, all of the new music for the new Spanish Harlem Orchestra record is done. It's
Mm.
complete. It's sitting in my computer, ready for me to hand out the parts for us to start rehearsing. All of the music of my quintet is done. So I'm just like, I'm ready. When the pandemic is over, I'm ready, and I'm going to be there kicking butt. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
That's fantastic. So you've just adapted to this situation and you just really got on with it and kept creating, which is fantastic.
that's exactly it. You said it exactly correct. And you know, my heart goes out to people really. I mean, to have been personally affected, man, it's such a horrible thing that we have to go through this as a world. You know, you just scratch your head. But for those of us who are still healthy and not been affected, that's a, you know, you have to, you know, feel thankful for that. And I vowed to stay creative because you know that's the only thing I know how to do.
Hmm.
I mean, some people learn how to cook. You know, I wish I had the patience to learn how to cook. Some people read books. I read a little bit more than I do. I've watched a lot of movies. I can tell you that. So, but yeah, it's a difficult time, but I'm trying to make the best of it. And I think that, you know, if I had a message to everybody, it would be that, you know, don't let nothing stop you. You know, keep preparing, keep being positive, keep having faith. Ultimately, you know, life has a way of beating you down, and, you know, just learn how to be tough and learn, you know, that that's part of the process.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you mentioned just very briefly your record label. So now you've touched pretty much every element. So producer, composer, band leader, pianist. Now record label. So tell us about that.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that you work at your craft, you know, in music, and you realize that we're at a time where, you know, record labels don't really exist nowhere near what they did years ago, and they don't mean nothing at all to what they did years ago. And sometimes they don't mean nothing at all, truthfully.
Right.
So the truth of the matter is, why should I give my product to a record label when, you know, if they want it, when they're just going to offer me peanuts for what, you know, and I get it. It's part of the business. So I'm saying, well, later for that, I just might as well make my own record label and do it totally for myself. And my first production was for my singer Marco Bermudez.
Right.
And you know what, Tuli, the sense of satisfaction, because first of all, he's my friend. More than anything, he's my friend, one of my best friends, right? So for me to produce a record for him, right, uh, and watch him and his first record, he had never done a record, and I was after him for the last year. I said, Marco, come on, come on, come on, come on, you got to make a record.
Nice.
So he's my singer, and I'm telling him to make his own record. But the biggest satisfaction that I got from that was watching him develop himself as an artist and letting people now view him as an artist. It's so cool because he deserves it. You know, he's a great person. He's a great singer. And now to watch that gene develop in front of me of him becoming an artist with his own product and doing
Wow.
interviews, it's such a sense. I'm like a father, you know, to a kid. And we're like watching him, you know, attain this beautiful thing, you know, that he deserves. I don't deserve it. You know, I mean, I helped him to it, but I mean, after all, he's the one that put his voice on it, and he sounds amazing on it. So it's Marco Bermudez and Mi Voz. I'm so proud of him. And yeah, it's such a great record for those people who are salsa fans. If you haven't heard it, listen to it.
We're gonna
It's my
feature
stamp.
it tonight. We're gonna feature it tonight. And remind us again that the record label is called Ovation.
Ovation
Yay!
Records.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll check it out for sure. And so yeah, we'll keep an eye on that record label and see all that comes out. So what is next for 2021?
Just now, I was finishing booking my flights to New York for next month because I'm a New Yorker. My family's there. My two sons are in New York. All my brothers and sisters. I rent a car and I'm home. But I haven't been there in over a year, which is amazing because
Wow.
I'm usually there 4 to 6 times a year. So I said, you know what? Okay, say, hold up.
I'm going.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm going. So I booked flights, and I'm going to take that time to bond with family. But I'm also finishing this production of this record that I'm telling you for a singer. And as I'm going to record the background vocals and the vocals on that day because all the music is done and it sounds amazing.
Wow.
So that's part of my trip. I'm also I'm developing the concept of the trip as I go. But
Okay.
being that I just booked the tickets, part of that time is going to be spent to reunite Spanish Harlem Orchestra to rehearse the new material.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll have time to record it. I was thinking, to try to get that in, but I'm not sure. It might be too much to ask. But at the least, we'll rehearse the new material. I get together with the singers and say, let's go over this material and rehearse the band so we could listen to how it sounds. I already know it sounds amazing because I've been listening and creating the works myself. But
And
yeah, so that's the next thing for me.
and that's the practice from the last album that came out last year, right? The Latin Jazz Project.
No, the practice is to record the new stuff that we're going to
Oh,
record.
right. Okay, okay, okay. I
So
see.
yeah, so I already have the music is done for that. So I'm already thinking going to the studio with the new material. Because I mean, during the pandemic, I prepared all the songs. I chose the songs. I had the arrangements done. You know, myself, I did a lot of the arrangements, but I have a few other arrangers that I use as well. So it's all there. It's sitting in a file on my desktop here. Uh,
Amazing.
I'm ready to go.
Well,
And you're asking me again, what else is new? People are already starting to contact me with regard to Spanish Harlem Orchestra. For believe it or not, September, somebody contacted me, you know, said, hey,
wow.
a jazz festival, we're interested in September. We've already got dates in October, November, and December. So I think people are already thinking of that it's going to open up. And, you know, let's
Yes,
pray to God that it does,
yes, fingers crossed.
because as much as I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, there's nothing that can equate with me being in front of great musicians and playing this music live in front of an audience, giving our hearts to audiences like we do.
Yes,
So I'm clear on that, and that's my hope. And you know, hopefully that'll be you know, in the near future. You know,
absolutely. Amen to that. So fingers crossed. When was the last time you came to the UK?
we were there a couple of years ago. We did 2 nights, sold out nights at Ronnie Scott's,
Oh,
and
really?
we had a tour last May. We were trying to get in 2 dates at Ronnie Scott's because they were interested, but
Wow.
we couldn't coordinate the dates. And I heard my Europe booking agent was working on trying to do something for July, but it might be too soon. So
My
we'll see
God.
what happens. I would love to get to the UK. I know that we have a fan base there. And
Yes,
not only that, I know there's a lot of great salsa bands, all right?
yes.
But, you know, as great as they are, they're not Spanish Harlem Orchestra.
Absolutely. And yes, do please come and tell us. If you do have any plans to come to the UK, honestly, let us know. We would need to let the whole of the UK make them all aware that you guys are going to come, and we're going to be there to support you. So amazing stuff. Now, just to finish, Oscar. Oh,
Nothing would satisfy me more than just being able to give you a big giant hug in person.
oh
So,
my God, that would be awesome. Likewise. Yes, please. Honestly, I look forward to
and,
that moment.
and I say that to you, but I mean that to all our fans, you know, who
Yes,
I miss that camaraderie that we have, you
yes,
know, I miss that so much. And, you know, those are the hopes.
yes.
Esperanzas.
I think when we go back to the dance floor, it's gonna be so emotional because I think the first thing that we all gonna do is just go and hug each other. I mean, there's lots of friends of mine already warning, guys, it might be a bit awkward, but I'm looking forward to some long hugs.
No doubt. I'm with you. I'm with you, girl.
So look forward to that. And just to finish, Oscar, what would be your advice, your piece of advice to the new generation of musicians that's coming out there? I mean, you have such a long and successful musical career, and as you said before, you've worked with some of the best, and you are now the one of the best yourself. So, what would be your advice to that new generation?
Well, you know, there's so many things I could tell them, you know, because there are so many things. But I would say that, you know, this path of being a musician is never easy. Like in anything else, it's not without obstacles, it's not without challenges, it's not without you falling down a bunch of times and scraping your knees. That's just accept that as part of the process. You know, I mean, I become a good band leader because I work with all the best, but I also work with all the worst, you know, during my all these years, and I've learned from everybody. So just know that if you love music, you know, you have to persevere. That's the biggest. That's the biggest word I can say. Perseverance. You know, through whatever it is, whatever challenges, keep yourself out there. Keep yourself networking. Keep yourself challenging yourself. Keep learning and maintain the love that you have for the music first and foremost. You know, let that lead your heart and lead the way, you know, to what you want to do. For me, people ask me, like, what's your criteria when you go into the studio? And I say, I only have one criteria, that when I walk away, that I absolutely love the music I'm hearing.
Mhm.
And and the music that you hear on any Spanish Harlem Orchestra record is because Oscar Hernandez, loves it. I mean, I love it. I love it. Can't even tell you. I get goosebumps, man. So when I walk away and then it's gone, because I don't go back and listen to it, because I'm already looking ahead. I know that I love what I did, and I'll stand by everything that I did because it comes from a deep sense of passion and commitment. So that's the best I can tell you, But perseverance.
Beautiful words, Oscar. Thanks ever so much. You've been amazing. And
Tuli, I'll say in Spanish as a camaraderie to us, gracias un millón por conocerte, por la oportunidad. And you can translate. Es un placer para mí poder pasar un ratito contigo. Y gracias por apoyar nuestra música. Thank you for supporting the music because we couldn't do it without the support. And I'm here a text away, a phone call away, a Zoom meeting away. So keep me posted.
absolutely, absolutely. We'll be back in touch. Let us know when there's any new developments. We love to hear about it. Thank you so much, Oscar. Stay blessed and stay safe.
You too, girl. God bless.
Thank you.